All right, everybody, welcome back again to the channel. My name is Oluwaseun, and today we want to see how to integrate Jenkins with SonarQube. All right, we want to do our application scanning. Now, SonarQube is a SAST tool, what you can refer to as SAST, which is a SAST tool that you can actually use to scan your source code for vulnerabilities. Is that okay? That is what SonarQube is used for. Now we want to see how to integrate this application or this tool with our Jenkins server so that before our application is built as a Docker image or before we deploy it to any environment, whether development, whether staging, whether production, we want to ensure that our application code does not contain any known vulnerability that can be exploited by an attacker. And we want to see how we can use SonarQube to basically check that. Now, of course, we've been going on in this course of this class about Jenkins. We've installed a lot of plugins. We've installed certain things. Now, what we want to look at today is that integration. Okay, so how do we integrate SonarQube with Jenkins? Now, as you must know by now, if you've been following the Jenkins series, for a while, I have stated it that Jenkins depends a lot on plugins, which means whatever it is you want to do with Jenkins, whether you want to connect to AWS, whatever environment you want to connect to, you have to install the plugin that is necessary to help establish that connection. Is that okay? So SonarQube is not different, right? So we have to go to Jenkins and install a plugin that allows Jenkins to communicate with SonarQube, because SonarQube is an external system as well. And so Jenkins must have a means of connection, right? There has to be something that will help to establish that connection between Jenkins and SonarQube, all right? So that is what we have to do. Now here, this is the website of SonarQube. So you have the sonarsource.com, or you can also go to you can also say sonarcloud.io, right? That will redirect back to sonarsource.com, okay? And then here you can click on login, all right? So I'm going to go back here and then click on login. Now, if you already have a GitHub account, a GitLab Bitbucket or Azure DevOps, you can actually use that to sign up as well. Okay, so here, if you don't have an account, you can click on sign up. And that will take you to this page. So you can use either of these, GitHub, Bitbucket, GitLab, Azure DevOps. And of course, if you are working in an organization and then you have some kind of license with SonarCloud or SonarQube, you can also use your single sign-on for that purpose, okay? Now, there are two ways actually to use SonarQube. You can use the cloud-hosted version, which is this one that we have on the screen, or you can also install SonarQube on your own server, which means you can spin up an EC2 instance on AWS and then install SonarQube on that EC2 instance and then use that, right? So that means you have the self-hosted version, which is the one you install on EC2 instance, and then you have, all right, the managed version. So the cloud version is the one that is managed, so you don't have to worry about any server, okay? But if you want to go ahead and install SonarQube yourself on your EC2 instance, I have a script that I've been able to put together for that particular purpose, all right? So here is a script that can help you install SonarQube on your EC2 instance. Now, I'm not going to go this route because you need a minimum of T3 medium instance to do this because it's quite heavy, and then the installation also will take a while because you have to install database, Postgres, you have to install Java, you have to install a lot of things, and then you also have to install Nginx as a reverse proxy. Okay, but if you want to exploit, if you're somebody who can, you want to take risks, you want to try something out, you don't find it boring, I'll put a link to the GitHub repo in the description of this video. You can go there, download this script, all right, and then basically just make use, all right, of it. Or what I would do instead is I can copy the script right here. And what I would do is I'll just create a file here, I'll just come in and create a file, and then I'll just call that sonar.sh, okay? And then I'll put it here. So by the time I push this repo to my, remote repo, you can actually just get this and then, install this on your EC2 instance and you'll be fine, all right? So you can do that with your user data, or you wait for the EC2 instance to come up and then you install it as a shell script. Is that okay? So that is that about it. Okay. Now, I already have an account on SonarCloud platform. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign in with my GitHub account. All right, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Now, this is my GitHub account. You can see that I really don't have a project. Everything is just clean. Nothing is here. Now, what you need to do, first of all, is when you want to integrate SonarQube with your Jenkins, is that you have to generate a token. Very important, all right? You have to generate a token. So I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So now, how do you generate a token, right? How do you do that? Now here, you have to come here to, all right, this icon here, click on my account, and then right here, you have security. So you click on security and then you generate a token. So you can put a token name that you want, and then I'll call that Jenkins. Now, let me just quickly say this here. Whatever it is that you do on the SonarCloud, right, is also the same thing that you would do if you hosted it on your EC2 instance, okay? So don't get it confused to that, oh, the SonarCloud, is it different from, if I host it on EC2 instance now? The only thing that is different is the interface, right? The interface is the only thing that is different, but all the processes remain the same. So the same way you're going to generate a token on SonarCloud is the same way you're going to generate a token on your EC2 instance if you're hosting it yourself, all right? So I just thought to share that with us so that you don't get confused as to if I'm hosting it, is there going to be difference? There really is no difference. The only thing that is different is the interface. Is that okay? All right. So you click on generate token. Now this token, you are only able to see it once. The moment you leave this page, you won't see it again. So you want to make sure that, you keep the token and then you are able to still recover it at some point if you need to. Now click on dashboard and then go to manage Jenkins. All right, and then you go to credentials, like we created credentials for every other system. And then I'm going to click on any of these and then come here to global credentials. And then I'll say add credentials, right? Now, the kind of credential I want to add is a secret text because it is what? A token. It is not a username and password, it's just a token, right, for authentication. So I'm going to copy that again. Come back here, and then I'll put a secret right here. Now, the ID, I'm going to say this is Sonar token, all right, just a simple name, and then I'll put that also in the description, and then I will create. So the SonarCube token has been created, has been added on my Jenkins server. So what's the next thing I need to do? Now on the SonarCube platform, you have to go to organization. So you have to create an organization as well. So that's part of the process. So click on organization, and then click on create. All right, now I'm not going to be linking it with my GitHub, so I'm going to create an organization manually. Right, so click on that. Now, the name of my organization is, I can call it anything, right? I can just say Sheung ORG, right? Sheung organization. Anything. But of course, if you're working in an organization, you will have your own naming convention and things like that. All right. And then I'll come here and I'll choose a plan. So I'm going to say select free. I'm using a free plan. I don't have any paid plan. And then I'll say create organization. Now, the organization will be created. Now, after your organization has been created, you have to also come here and say analyze a new project. Okay, now click on analyze a new project and then come here. So what's going to be your project name? So the project name can be, all right, I can just say Sheung-Java, all right, app. Okay, and then I'll copy that same name and then I'll put it right here. And then the project is also what is public, is has to be visible. And then I'll say next. And then right here, I'm going to select this one to say the new code for this project will be based on what? Let me say it's going to be based on what? The previous version. So which means any code that has changed since the previous version is considered a new code, right? I don't want to go with a number of days, but let's just go with this previous version. And then I'll say create project. Now I have a project that has been created, and then I have an organization that I have also created. Is that okay? Now, the next thing we need to do now is to go back to Jenkins, and then I'll come back to manage Jenkins. And then here, I have to install the SonarCube plugin, all right? And then I'll come to available plugin, and then I'll search for Sonar, all right, Cube. Okay, SonarCube. Now, this is what I want to install. I want to install the SonarCube scanner, all right? I'm going to select that, and then I'll say install, all right? And then wait for a while for this to install. Now, after this plugin has been installed, there are two places where you have to configure this plugin. So there's the system where you have to configure the server, and then you have the tool where you have to configure, all right, the version of the Sonar scanner tool that you want to use. Okay, now you click on manage Jenkins, and then you click on system. That's the first place. So click on system, and then come right here and scroll down, and then you find SonarCube right here. Okay, so the SonarCube server is right here. Environment variable has to be checked. If you don't have this checked on your own side, don't worry. Just make sure you check the environment variable. And then for the name is Sonar Server. You can give it any name, right? It's not, there's no standard here as to, it has to be this name or that name, okay? So just give it a name. The URL, of course, is sonarcloud.io, all right? Like we've seen, sonarcloud.io. And then this authentication is Sonar token. So make sure you select that your token and then click on save. All right. Now go back to Manage Jenkins, and then you come back to Tools, okay, to configure the scanner tool itself. Now scroll down, and then right here, you'll find your Sonar Scanner installation. I already have it configured here. Now, if you don't have it configured, just click on Add New, all right, or Add Sonar Scanner. The name is Sonar Scanner 6. That's the name I gave mine. The version, of course, I'm using the latest version right here, so you can also use that. Okay, Sonar Scanner 6.2.1, blah, blah, blah. All right, and then you press Save. Okay, now you've configured your SonarCube server with Jenkins, the token has been configured. Now, the next thing you need to do now is to write your pipeline script that will scan your source code with SonarCube scanner and then push the report to SonarCube, all right, cloud. Okay, so that you can visualize the report right there. That's the next thing you want to do. But before you do that, now the application we are dealing with is actually a Java application, all right? So I have a Java application here that I generated with ChatGPT to basically help us understand how SonarCube works and how you can check your application for error. Is that okay? And that's one thing that I believe you can also do, right? You can generate any code with ChatGPT. Just tell ChatGPT that, oh, I want a code that contains bugs, that contains error. What you want to achieve is basically to learn how to use SonarCube to scan that application and then visualize the report and be able to interpret the report of SonarCube, all right, and all of that. So that's what you want to achieve. Now, this is a Java application. Now, if you're dealing with a Java application, there are two things you need. You need Java, which is JDK, and then you also need Maven. Now, Maven, it's a build tool for Java, right? There are quite a number of build tools for Java. There's Maven, there's Gradle, there's Ant, I guess, all right? But in our own case, we're using Maven. Now, when you're using a build tool, whether Maven, whether NPM, whether NPX, whether you're using, whatever build tool that you're using, okay, they all have what they call the dependency file. Okay, so in Node.js, you have what you call the package.json. If you're dealing with PHP, you have what you call the composer.json. If you're dealing with Python, you have what you call the requirements.txt. Okay, inside of all of these is where you define the dependencies that your application needs to run. So for Java, we have the pom.xml if we're using Maven. So for Maven deals with pom.xml. Now, inside of the pom.xml, that's where you define the dependencies, the kind of compiler, whatever it is that your application requires to function, you define that inside of the pom.xml, all right, serving as the dependency file for your Java application. Now, in the Jenkins pipeline, you will see that here we're defining tools. So we have two tools that we're using. There's the Maven and there's the JDK. So that means on the Jenkins server itself, we also have to install Maven, and we also have to make sure that Java is also available. All right. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to go back to tools. All right. And right here, I'll click on JDK. And of course, I need to add my JDK, and the name that I've given it here is Java 17, right? So I'm going to type that and say Java 17, and the name has to be the same as what you have in your pipeline. Or better still, the name that you give here must also be the same name that you're referencing on the pipeline, all right, in the pipeline script. Now here, I need to add the path, all right, to my, Java, okay? And of course, when we install Jenkins, we already installed Java 17, right? So I'm going to go back here and then I'll say connect. And I'm going to grab this to connect to my instance. Okay, so let me clear the screen, and then I'll come here to connect to my Jenkins server. And I'm going to run a command, and that command is basically to say read link -f, and then I'll say $, and then I'll say which Java, all right? That would give me the path to my Java installation. And then I'll press enter, and right here I can see the full path, all right, the absolute path to my Java installation. So I'm going to copy that up to this point, okay? So I'm going to copy that up to that point, and then go back to Java, paste it here, and then scroll down again, and then come here to Maven. I'm going to click on Add Maven. So the name of the Maven that I give it in the pipeline is Maven 3, so I can copy that as well from the pipeline, and I can put it here, and then of course, I will go with the latest version of Maven, which is 3.9, all right? And then I will say save. Is that okay? So Java configured, Maven configured. Now we can go to the Jenkins dashboard, create a new item, and then test out what we have done. Okay. So now I need to update my pipeline script. So Java Maven installed, we're fetching the application from this particular URL. And then of course the branch name is Java. And then we're doing some Maven goals, which is Maven clean. We want to install the application. We want to basically produce an artifact from this application. So that's why we're doing Maven clean install. And then we don't have any test basically configured. So we're skipping that. And then we're also going to be compiling the application to help us generate what you call classes. Okay, I mean, we're dealing with Java application. Some who are programmers will understand that better, right? When you talk about classes, because SonarQube actually needs the classes generated in order to do some kind of comprehensive analysis of your code. Okay, and then right here, we have the SonarQube configuration. Right now, all of these environment variables for SonarQube that you can see right here can actually be found here, right here on the SonarQube documentation page. Okay, now if you look at what you have, it says analysis and command line parameters, which means when you're running SonarQube on the command line, as we're doing right here, because we're executing SonarQube on the shell, right? And that's why we have SH. So if you're executing SonarQube on the command line, then you have to start your Sonar properties with -d. And it says defined, it says here, defined when launching an analysis with -d on the command line. Which means if I don't put the -d, then it's not going to work, right? Then property name actually is sonar.project key, sonar.project name, sonar.project version, sonar.sources, and all of that. But if I'm running it on the command line, then I have to, prefix that with -d. Is that okay? So that is why you have the -d at the back of the sonar. Is that okay? All right. So now you have a few things. So now here, the name of the tool that you define is Sonar Scanner 6, and that is what we did here, right? If you go to Manage Jenkins and you go to Tools, all right, we actually define that right there. So if you come here, the name of the tool is what? Sonar Scanner 6, and that is exactly what we're referencing right here. And here, the SonarQube environment variable, this is Sonar server that we specified. So if you go back to Manage Jenkins and then you click on System, and then you scroll down right here, you find out the name that we gave it here, right here. Okay, and that is how we that's how we came about the Sonar server right here in the pipeline. Now here, for the project key, remember we created a project on the Sonar server already. So I'm going to go back to that server, and I'm going to click on project. All right, and now this is the name of the organization. So Sheon-org is the name of the organization. The project is basically with this particular name, right? Sheon Java app. So I'm going to copy that right here, and I'm going to pull that right here. All right. And then the project name also is the same. We give it the same thing. All right. And then right here, the version can be anything really. It doesn't matter. All right. The project version is version 1. And then the sources, okay, is the code that you want to scan, right? The path to that code that you want to scan. And my own is an src main/java. Inside of that is where I have all the code. And then, of course, by the time this code is compiled, it's going to create a target folder. And inside of that target folder, you're going to have a directory called classes. So I'm providing that as well, all right, for SonarQube. So here you can see classes directory. Now, the name of the organization is what we saw here, Sheon-org. So I need to put that right here as well. So I'll say Sheon-org, right? So that's the name of the organization, okay? And that is all I have to do right here, okay? So what I can do now is to just say git add, and then git commit -m, okay? And then we can just say Jenkins Pipeline updated, okay? And then we can push that to the repo, okay? Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to copy all of these, right? I'm going to copy that, come to Jenkins, go back to dashboard, new item, and I'm just going to say scan, all right, Java. I mean, any name really. Pipeline, okay. And then I'll scroll all the way down, and then I'll put my script right here, okay? And then I'll say save and build. So let's see if everything was configured properly. Okay, so let's build. So the build has started. I'm going to wait for the whole thing to run, and then I'll come back when everything is done. Welcome back, guys. So you can see now that the pipeline ran successfully. And of course, the code analysis was completed with SonarQube. And then if you look at the icon you have here, it also shows you that it was analyzed by SonarQube. All right. So that means by the time we go back to the SonarQube page, we'll be able to find the analysis of the code. And then if there are errors and things like that, we'll be able to see it and then, call the attention of our developers to it, and we look at it together, and then we also solve it together. And of course, if you click on this one to check your console output, all right, you'll see a whole lot of things right here. And then, of course, if you scroll down, all right, you can see the point where the SonarQube thing started. So you can see here, injecting SonarQube environment variable using the configuration server. The plugin was also pulled, downloaded, connected. And if you scroll down right here, All right, you can see all the scanning and analysis going on. All right, and then if you scroll down, you would see here when it says analysis report generated in this number of seconds, the size about 282 kilobyte, and then the analysis report uploaded in 224 milliseconds, analysis successful. And then it says here you can find the result at this particular dashboard, and it says more about the report processing at this particular URL. Okay, and then it says sensor catch pushed, published successfully. All right, and it says execution was a success. Okay, so now if I go back to my project here and I refresh this page, okay, and then I click here, you can see here it says the last analysis was done at this time. All right, and then if I come here to the project, I can see the analysis. Now the quality gate is not computed because we don't have any quality gate configured. Of course, we're going to talk more about that, in the course of the cohort that we're starting next year. We'll talk about quality gate and how important that is, right? So here we can see that about 153 lines of code was analyzed. And if you scroll down, you can see here that it says we have 27 issues. Okay, 27 issues. So if you click on that, you click on the main branch, right here, you can see that you have about 25 maintainability issues, 1 reliability issues, and then 1 security issues as well. And if you click on this maintainability issue, it tells you exactly what the problem is, and not just tells you what the problem is, it also shows you the path, right, where that problem actually emanated from. So I can see here that inside of my source main Java, my app.java, which is this code right here, right, this one right here, I can see that there's a problem with this particular code, and that is what it is showing me right here. And it tells me here that it is actually a consistency issue. So if I click here, it says to be consistent, the code needs to be written in a uniform and conventional way, which means the way that this code is written is not conventional and it's not uniform. All right, which means it deviated from the standard way that the code actually should be written. Okay, so that is consistency. Now here you have another one, and that one is adaptability. So if you click on that, it says to be adaptable, it means that the code needs to be structured to be easy to evolve and develop with confidence, right? So which means, this code is not structured. It's not designed in such a way that it can, of course, evolve, which means if somebody wants to change something tomorrow, or maybe they want to update it, maybe they want to do something else, it's not actually adaptable. And if you look at it, it says what? Bad practice. Okay, so it gives you an idea of what actually the problem is. So it says bad practice, and this one also says bad practice, this one says bad practice, and this one says pitfall. All right, it tells you basically what the tag is. So this is pitfall, this one is bad practice. So it doesn't just tell you, oh, you have this number, but it tells you where the issue is and what are the things you also need to pay attention to. For example, if you click on this one as well, right, it shows you where exactly the problem is, right? It says replace this use of syntax, all right, replace this use of system.out by a logger, right? So it's basically telling us, why do you need this? So it's highlighting where the error is inside of the code, so that the developer can actually know, oh, okay, this is the line that is giving us an issue. So with that, it is easy to correct and it's easy to quickly work upon, all right? And then if you come here to why, it tells you, it gives you information about, what is trying to call your attention to. So here it gives you, the following non-compliance code. It tells you that this particular line is not compliant, and then it tells you that it should be replaced by. So it doesn't just show you this where the error is, it also gives you an idea of what should be done, right? How you can do it better, right? It gives you that as well. And then activities, you can see the activities here. More info, you can also see that here. And then it also gives you documentation as to, the OWASP documentation that relates to that error. So here you can see the OWASP top 10. So you can click on it to understand, what the error is, what are the documentation that I've spoken about this kind of error in the past. So these are things that you can also, work with your developers and tell them, oh, these are the reports we're getting from the scanning that we did. These are the things I think you need to look out, for, and that way they are able to build better, right? They're able to they are not just going to be coding, but they are able to code in such a way that the application at the end of the day is secure, and then it has zero, all right, near zero vulnerability that can be exploited. Okay, and that is the beauty of doing static analysis, all right, for your application code. Because you can code, the fact that an application is working does not mean it is actually, security proof. Does not mean it doesn't have any maintainability issues, doesn't mean it doesn't have any adaptability issues and all of that. But with this kind of scans, you can tell if there are structural issues, you can tell if there are adaptability issues, you can tell if there are consistency issues and things like that. Okay, so I believe with this explanation we've done, we understand exactly what SonarCube is and how it helps us to basically scan our code and give us suggestions on how to improve, all right, our coding better and how our developers can write, clean and safe or secure code. Is that okay? So thank you so much. I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.